far below the surface of the Gulf of Mexico, a mile deep. Robots are working tonight to stop the catastrophic flow of oil from a broken well. They've maneuvered a giant metal box into place on top of the leak. Now they're hoping that they can hook it up as to a system to siphon the escaping oil through a pipe to ships on the surface. The stakes couldn't be higher. The slick is now starting to reach shore, lapping onto the barrier islands off the Louisiana coast. The BBC's Rajesh Merchandani reports now from Alabama.
Every day since the spill began, this lab on Alabama's Gulf Coast has been testing seawater. This is what they see: small, oily, black particles found floating under the surface north of the slick. Scientists think the oil is more widespread than we can see. And worse, they think it's in the food chain.
The presence of small particles like we're finding offshore could influence the food chain. It could intercept the food that the fishes are supposed to be eating and then ultimately passing up to larger fishes and ultimately to humans.
But seafood is a way of life here and big business. After all, this is Bayou La Batterie, where Forrest Gump's celluloid shrimping fortune was made. But while local fish like these mullet can still be caught, here's today's reality. Deep sea fleets lie idle. They can't fish waters affected by oil. Hi there. I met John and Sonia, who normally fish 15 miles offshore. Now they're heading 180 miles away.
I'm still uncertain. I trust and believe in God. He's going to take care of us, but we'll be going in waters that we normally don't fish in and hope the oil doesn't reach there.
That's right.
But no one can predict where the slick is heading. It covers thousands of square miles and has come ashore on a few remote islands. Oil-covered birds have been found. Meanwhile, BP is working to install this giant container on top of the main leak. Its best hope right now to stop the spread of oil. And along the coast, more than 140 miles of inflatable boom have been laid. But these are defences against a visible slick. Today, for the first time since we've been here, there's a distinct smell in the air, the faint whiff of oil carried in on the wind. The slick is still 40 miles offshore, but its effects are already being felt. Rajesh Merchandani, BBC News in Alabama.
And joining me now from Houston to discuss the spill and the efforts to contain it is Gregory McCormack. He's the director of the Petroleum Extension Service at the University of Texas. Thanks very much for joining us, Mr. McCormack. We heard there from Rajesh Merchandani about the oil slick, how it's now progressing and the effect that it's having on wildlife and on communities down there. But the real focus this weekend is going to be on that container and whether they can get it to siphon off this oil leak. What do you think the chances are?
I think the chances are very good that that will occur. We've got some of the best engineering minds at work that designed this containment vessel, and I am fairly confident that if we can situate it over the leak accurately and have stability in place, I think I'm very confident that this will function the way it's designed to function.
But as I understand it, this has actually never been done before at this depth, has it?
It has not been done at this depth. We've had similar facilities in shallower waters which worked very effectively. The only difference here is the pressures that we're working at and the temperatures, the lower temperatures at the leak site.
So how could that affect the operation compared to shallower waters?
Well, the oil behaves differently under low temperatures and high pressures. But still, the oil wants to find its way to the surface. If we give it a contained way to find its way to the surface, it should find its way to the surface, and we should be able to extract it more easily because we've contained it.
And how long do you think this is going to take? When do you think we should have this equipment in place and the siphoning off actually going up to the ship above the surface, no longer leaking?
My understanding is they have lowered this containment vessel within about 200 feet of the leak. Now, this is the most cautious part that we have to be aware of. We have to make sure that we lower the containment vessel over the leak without disturbing anything else. And remember, the floor of the ocean bed at that point is really mud, and so it's not a very stable floor. So we have to be careful as we position it.
Right, I like your confidence, Mr. McCormack, and I like to have some optimism on the programme, but I'm assuming there is a plan B if this doesn't work. What is it?
There are two Plan Bs, actually. The first Plan B, which I just heard about in the past couple of days, on the blowout preventer stack, there's what's known as the kill line and the choke line. If they can activate both of these, you're able to put high-density fluids down to the well, so you kill the well. By that I mean you force the hydrocarbons back into the reservoir, and you're able to plug off the well. That's the first backup. The second backup, obviously, is the relief wells, which will take 2 to 3 months to drill.
Okay, Mr. McCormack, we have to leave it there. Thanks very much for making sense of all of that for us. Well, for the people who make their living from those Gulf waters, this is, of course, an incredibly stressful time. A large Vietnamese community has fueled the local shrimp industry for decades, but now they face economic disaster. And the problem is, of course, compounded by cultural barriers and confusing information. The docks in this Alabama fishing village are busy this morning. It's habit more than anything. For Kim Chi-tai and her family, there will be no trawling today. They've been working these waters since before Katrina, drawn to this hamlet where the Gulf of Mexico stretches up to meet the Mississippi Sound. These waters remind them of Vietnam, but with the chance for a better life in their adopted country. Who'd have thought? Vietnamese thriving in the bayou. But now their life has ground to a stop, capsized by the invasion and indecision of an ever-growing plague of oil.
They haven't said when we can go back out and work again. This is the shrimp season, and now we've been idle, and I don't know what's going to happen next.
In Bayou La Batterie, the shrimp capital of Alabama, this isn't just a way of life, it is life. Every day these boats don't sail, the $80 million industry takes a blow. Over half of the bayou's fishing population is Vietnamese, and as the spill grows, rumors follow. Lawyers have descended trying to convince Kim Chi and her friends to sign on to lawsuits.
Law firms flocked here, since the oil spill, and they're trying to recruit these potential clients, and they're providing. I'm not sure it's the right information or wrong information. It's just that information has been erroneously reported or disseminated to the Vietnamese community.
Daniel Lee serves as the liaison between these two worlds, translating for those who don't speak English and don't trust outsiders.
I don't want nobody left behind because of their race, color, their creed, or their language. I want everybody treated the same.
And in the middle of this oil-slicked nightmare, Bayou La Batterie's mayor, Stan Wright, tries to spread the word on where to get help.
I think the majority of the people, they're not looking for a handout. They're looking for a hand up. They just want the opportunity to work. They would a whole lot rather go to work and generate their own revenue than what they would ask anybody for anything.
Right now, no one knows which way the oil will flow, and for Kim Chi, that makes life alarmingly unpredictable.
The plan is, there is no plan. This is our only job, our livelihood. There's no alternative for us.
Kim Chi-tai there, and for much more on how the mayor of that Alabama fishing village is trying to help his community weather this looming crisis, do make sure to go to our website. His account and much more is at bbc.com/World News America. And in New York today, there was a sign of how skittish everyone is after last week's attempted car bombing in Times Square. The New York Police Department called in the bomb squad and cordoned off streets around the popular tourist attraction again today when a suspicious cooler was reported. The area was reopened when they found only water and books inside. Good to know that there are vigilant passers-by up there in New York.